For the first time in a long time, CNN and Christian Amanpour, the presenter, did something right. So I'm going to praise them. It is extremely rare to see me praise CNN and Christian Amanpour, who is something. I mean, she's a professional veteran broadcaster, obviously, so give her credit. But in reality, we've had a lot of bias, political bias from CNN, especially recently over the last few years. But during this whole United Nations summit, when you had all the world leaders going to New York, of course, the Iranian president was there. The tyrant also attended the session. Now, CNN and Christian Amanpour interview some of these world leaders, and she requested to have the president of Iran as one of the guests. And now we know that with all the recent issues in Iran, the protests against the morality police and the Muslim rule, the headscarf nonsense rule that they have, basically the president said, well, Amanpour, I know you, of course, she's British Iranian, but she now obviously works as an American broadcaster. He said, you have to cover your hair if you want to interview me. She said, no. And we've had, actually very recently over the last few days, other broadcasters, other channels around the world, Western channels, that interviewed Iranian leaders, and they said, yes, they covered their hair. Why? What happened to your liberal feminism? Now, Amanpour actually stood up for Western values, which is rare. And she said, nope, I'm not covering my hair. This is the image that you see on the set just before the interview. Christian Amanpour sitting there, and she told us the story. So let's go and see what actually happened on the day. So she said, protests are, of course, sweeping Iran, and women are burning their hijabs, and because of the morality police. Last night, I planned to ask President Raisi about all this and much more. This was going to be President Raisi's first ever interview on US soil during his visit to New York. And after weeks of planning and 8 hours of setting up translation equipment, lights and cameras, we were ready. But no sign of President Raisi. 40 minutes after the interview had been due to start, one of his advisors came over. The president, he said, was suggesting that I wear a headscarf because it's the holy month of Muharram and Safar, blah, blah, blah. I politely declined. We are in New York, where there is no law or tradition regarding headscarves. I pointed out that no previous Iranian president has required this when I have interviewed them outside of Iran. The aide made it clear that the interview would not happen if I did not wear a headscarf. He said it was a matter of respect and referred to the situation in Iran, alluding to the protests sweeping the country. Makes no sense, okay. Again, Christian Amanpour said that I couldn't agree to this unprecedented and unexpected condition. Therefore, we walked away, she says. The interview didn't happen as protests continue in Iran and people are being, of course, like targeted and everything else. This would have been an important moment to speak with the tyrant of Iran. Now, this new president, now, of course, for those who don't know, president actually doesn't have full power. It's a supreme leader who is essentially like a king. And that person makes real decisions, Ayatollah Khamenei. And the problem here is that the president has some powers in terms of domestic policies. And his nickname is the Butcher because he was at the top of the judiciary in the past and was responsible for the death of many people under his supervision. And the blood on his hand can still be metaphorically visible. So this was the one time that CNN and Amanpour did something well. So good job, everybody. We have to defend our values. We have to stand up for ourselves and against the tyranny of Islamism and the third world barbaric mentality. Now we're going to come back in half an hour. We're going to tell you a very weird, shameless irony coming from Beijing. The CCP are attacking the West over lack of action on climate change. Subscribe to the channel. I'm my Tousi and we are the media.